Hello, uh, welcome to the sixth session of the statistical quality control. And here I am Mohammad Saifullah Sheikh, working as head of the Department of Machine Tool Technology at HJ Government Polytechnic, Bangalore. So I have already taken the video sessioning for the session one. Sorry, for the unit one. So now I am taking the sixth unit here, that is acceptance sampling. So the outcomes of this chapter or the unit is that after the completion of this unit, the students will be able to understand the basic concepts of the acceptance sampling. So let us know what exactly is the acceptance sampling. So as in the statistical quality control, we have come across in the unit number 3 and 4, we have learned something about some of the major tools, like they are called as the charts, like X bar, R chart. Then we have studied the P charts, NP charts, C charts, X bar, sigma charts. They're all the tools, I can say that. They're all basically, we can call, they're all the tools that is used to control the quality of the product. So the acceptance sampling, it is one of the major field of the SQC, that is the acceptance sampling. I can say that acceptance sampling, apart from the different charts, charts for the variable, charts for the attributes, apart from that, the acceptance sampling is also one of the major field of SQC, where we can control the quality of a product. The acceptance sampling is an inspection method. So basically, it is one of the improved version of the inspection method of deciding a batch of the pieces to be accepted or rejected. So here, it is not like the 100% inspections. Here, we are going to accept the lot or reject the lot, depending upon the samples that we are going to inspect, and and there will be an agreement between the producers as well as the customers. So they will come to a, a plan where a word that is called as the acceptance number. So depending upon that acceptance number, so they will decide whether the consumer, sorry, the customer will decide whether the batch has to be accepted or rejected. A batch containing, sometimes what will happen, say like this, a batch containing proportions of defectives small enough. Sometimes the batch will be having small defectives, but sometimes what will happen, we are going to reject that. So such things, will happen in acceptance sampling. And it is reverse also, like, 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 so there will be no questions of regarding the proportions of the defective found in the sample as the measure of the proportions of the defective present in the batch. Sometimes what will happen, there will be uh, the 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 sample that has been inspected will be a good, but when you compare with the other items which is there in the lot, so they may be bad. So that's what the reverse things is also possible here in the acceptance sampling. The decision of the acceptance or rejections of the batch is made on the basis of the value of probability that a batch containing an acceptably small proportions of defective will will yields to a small containing to a, yield a sample containing the proportions of defective actually found. So that's what the decision of the whether the batch has to be accepted or it has to be rejected. It is totally depends upon the a word that is called as the probability of the acceptance. So the probability of the acceptance, it will be the understanding between the producer and the customer. So that is what we are going to learn in the acceptance sampling. So the acceptance sampling method generally proves to be an economical. It proves to be an economical because basically acceptance samplings is a method we are using in the mass productions. As we know that in the mass production, a machine is manufacturing or a machine is giving the lots of product within no time. So it is impossible for us to inspect all the items, within with the less time. So that's why we are going for the acceptance sampling, where in the mass production, when a batch of the products come out, so we are going to select randomly. We are going to select randomly few items. Say for example, say a machine is giving 1,000 items per hour. So it is difficult for us to inspect all the 1,000 items. Then we will be going for the acceptance sampling, where out of 1,000 items, we will select a small number of samples. Say, for example, out of 1,000, say if I select randomly, if I pick randomly, say 5 items. So now my duty is to inspect only 5 items, where I am not inspecting 9,909 995 items. I'm not checking. I'm just checking only the 5 items. So, which is, that's what I'll check. We can check only the few items, and we will inspect it. And depending upon the acceptance number, we will decide whether the batch has to be accepted or it has to be rejected. So, because 100% inspection is impracticable in the most of the cases, because in the mass production we cannot go for the 100% inspection, and the 100% inspection, the cost involved for the 100% inspection, the time consumed in the 100% inspection is high, and there is a fatigue to the inspector also. So it is an inspection technique, not a quality control method. So now we'll see where exactly we can use the acceptance applications of the acceptance sampling, where exactly we can use this one. So we can use this acceptance sampling at all the places where there is a destructive test is there. Where there is a destructive test, we cannot go for the 100% inspection. So So, 100% inspection, especially in a destructive testing, it is prohibited. So that's what I can say, that the first application of the acceptance sampling is where there is a destructive testing will takes place. So we are going to go for, or we are going to apply a method that is called as acceptance sampling, and where 100% inspection causes a lot of fatigue and the time. So because 100% inspection, it consumes a lot of time, it will cause us a lot of fatigue. So that's why we cannot go for the inspection, that is the inspection by means of we can go for the inspections of the quantity or the products by means of the acceptance sampling, because acceptance sampling will reduce the fatigue as well as the time, and the cost, where the cost of the inspection is very high. So where there is a cost of, suppose if there is a manufacturing industry, and suppose you are using 100% inspection, and the cost itself is increasing or it is high, so then we cannot go for the we cannot go for the 100% inspection. We have to go for the acceptance sampling, because the cost is very low there in case of the acceptance sampling. So these are the applications of the acceptance sampling. So first is we can use the acceptance sampling where there is a destructive testing. Second one, we cannot where there is a 100% inspection. If there is a 100% inspection which causes a lot of fatigue and the time, yes, we can go for the acceptance sampling. And where the cost of inspection is very high, yes, we can go for the acceptance sampling. So these are the applications of the acceptance sampling. Now, what are the advantages of the sampling that is called as the acceptance sampling, or I can say that sampling inspections? So the items which are subjected to destructive test must be inspected sampling inspection only. So that is the first advantages. Where there is a destructive test, we have to go for acceptance sampling inspection only. We cannot go for the 100% inspection. So that is the first advantages of the acceptance sampling inspection. So the second one, we can go for, say, the second advantages of the acceptance sampling inspection is that naturally we know that last slide I have told you that the cost and the time and the fatigue, it is what? It is less. The cost of the inspection and the time consumed for the inspection, it is quite less as compared to the 100% inspection. So that is what the second advantages of the acceptance sampling inspection. So the third advantages of acceptance sampling inspection is that, so inspection fatigue, which occurs in the 100% inspection, is eliminated. It means that, so there is no question of the fatigue at the time of the inspection. So naturally we can, so that's why, there is an advantages here. So that is the third advantages of the acceptance sampling inspection. Now, the fourth advantage, smaller inspection staff is required. So naturally, say in the mass production, when the machine giving 1,000 items per hour, so inspector's function is to inspect only few items, say 4, 5, 6, like that. So naturally, the staff required for the inspection here, it is less. As in case of the 100% inspection, we need a lot of the staffs, required for the 100% inspection. So that is the fourth advantages of the acceptance sampling inspection. And the fifth advantages of the acceptance sampling inspection is that less damage to the products, because only few items is subjected for the inspection. As we know that if a machine is manufacturing, as I've told you, manufacturing 1,000 items, it is giving 1,000 items per hour. So we are manufacturing, we are testing only the few items. We are not touching, say out of 1,000, 995 items will not never touch. It will not be touched. So that's why, so there is no question of damage to the product. So less damage to the products will occur here in case of the acceptance sampling inspection. The sixth advantages of the acceptance sampling is that the problem of the inspector error by the 100% inspection is minimized. So here, sometimes in the 100% inspection, sometimes the inspector will find some, he will make some errors in that. But here, there is no question of making the errors in case of the acceptance sampling inspection. So that is the sixth advantages of the acceptance sampling inspection. So it exerts more pressure on the quality improvement. So here, sometimes what will happen in the acceptance sampling inspections, say a lot has been inspected, okay, a lot has been inspected. So what will happen, the sample that has been taken for the testing may be bad. Then at that time, 900 out of 1,000 few items has been selected for the inspection. So 995 items we have to, disqualify. So that's why the here the entire, the thing is that the effective pressure. So here there will be always the pressure on the quality control department to improve the quality of the product. So it is very, very important, the advantages of the acceptance sampling inspection. So now we'll study the limitations. I can say that limitations of acceptance sampling inspections, or I can say that disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? So making risk of making the wrong decision. So here sometimes what will happen, as I've told you just now, say for example, I'll change the, instead of 1,000, say a machine is manufacturing 100 items, it is making 100 items per hour. So per hour. So out of the 100 items, I have selected 5 items for the inspection, and 95 items are there in the lot. When I have selected 5 items, and if there are more defective, then the consumer, or the consumer, what he will do, he is going to reject the lot. So he is going to reject the lot only by inspecting the 5 items. But suppose if there are 95 items, they are there in the box, they are good, so then it is a wrong decision. There is a risk of the wrong decision. Sometimes the risk of the wrong decisions will be done by the producer, and sometimes it will be done by the consumer. So that is what the main disadvantages of the acceptance sampling inspection. So that is the first disadvantages. So the second disadvantages or the limitations of the acceptance sampling inspection is that, so it provides less information about the product than the 100% inspection, because here in a short period of time, he is going to inspect only few items. Okay, where he will not get all the informations, all he is not going to study all the characteristics or the properties of the product. But whereas in case of the 100% inspection, it is not like that. In case of the 100% inspection, the inspector is going to inspect each and every point of the product. He is going to study, he is going to test the product for each and every aspects of that. That's why in the acceptance sampling, we are not going to get the informations of the product properly. So that's what is one of the limitations or the disadvantages of the acceptance sampling inspections. So the third disadvantages is that some extra planning and the documentation is required. When the process goes wrong, naturally, they need to bring the process under control. To bring the process under control, so the planning is required and documentation is necessary. That's why this is the third disadvantages of acceptance sampling, acceptance sampling inspection. Now, this acceptance sampling inspection, okay, this acceptance sampling inspections is, it is depends. This is depends. The success of the sampling scheme depends upon the following factors: randomness of the sample, that is how you are going to select the sample, that is called as the randomness, how you are going to pick the sample. And what is the size, of the sample, so that is the second point. And the quality characters to be tested, what are the quality characters that we need to test that I mean in the acceptance sampling inspections. Then acceptance criteria. So this acceptance criteria is called, it is denoted by C. C is nothing but the acceptance number, and this acceptance number will be decided depending, it will be decided uh, uh, where here there will be an agreement between the consumer and the producer. They will decide this acceptance criteria, or I can say that acceptance number. And then the, what is the size of the lot? So sometimes the size of the lot will change. So for the first batch of production, See, if I get the size of the lot, say it is 500, may I may get, you know, the second lot. So that may have, 200 items. In third lot, I may get, 1,000. Or who knows? I may get 200 items. So that's what the size of the lot. It will be varying. So, that's what the size of the lot for the inspection will also plays a very important role for the successfulness of the acceptance sampling inspection. So these are the five items we must remember. So these five items, plays a very important role, that is called as the randomness of the sample size, quality characteristics that we are going to test during the inspection, and the acceptance criteria. So this acceptance criteria is nothing but the acceptance number, that is C, which is denoted by C, and the lot size, that is denoted by the capital N, and the sample size will be always denoted by the small letter n. So these are the limitations of the acceptance sampling inspection. So the next point that we are going to study, where exactly in the industry is how we are going to use this. That's what it is called as industrial uses of the acceptance sampling. So the first, so the use to determine when, how, industrial, how they are going to use this. I can say that in industry, how this acceptance sampling will be used. One is called as to determine the quality and acceptability of the incoming raw material components and products. So the see, it doesn't mean that the acceptance sampling used it is used only for the finished product. No, sometimes we have to use the acceptance sampling. We are using the acceptance sampling for the raw material, to test the raw materials. Suppose if you test, if the raw material is good, the quality of the product will be always, good. So the component parts, sometimes we are going to inspect the component parts and the products that has been purchased outside. So we are going to use the acceptance sampling. So in the industry, we are using this this thing, the acceptance sampling, for the quality and the acceptability of the raw material and the component parts that has been manufactured outside, and the products that has been manufactured outside, etc. There are so many items will be there. So that will be determined. So that is the first industrial use of the acceptance sampling. So the second use, to decide the acceptability of semi-finished product for further processing as it undergoes the operation under the from the machine to machine, or from section to section, so within the factory. So that's why, as I have told you, that it is not acceptance sampling, it is not only a process or the inspection method to inspect the finished product. No, so it is the inspection method. We are going to inspect it from the raw material. So it will start from the raw material, the component that has been manufactured outside, the products that has been manufactured outside, to the finished, semi-finish. Even the semi-finished products can also be, checked or inspected by means of the acceptance sampling before it goes from the machine to machine. And the third inspection sampling. Okay, so the third industrial use is that to determine the quality of the outgoing product. So that is the main cause. That is the main use of the acceptance sampling, so to determine the quality of the outgoing product. And the fourth industrial use is that for improving, maintaining, and controlling the quality of the product manufactured. Always the acceptance sampling is useful for us to maintain and bring the process under control. If you bring the process during the manufacturing, suppose if you find any any mistakes in the output, so immediately the quality control inspector is going to inform, and he is going to control the whole process, so that at the end he is going to get the quality of the products. So the quality of the products can be improved. Here, we can improve the quality of the product as soon as the process goes wrong. So that is the industrial uses of the acceptance sampling. So the next one, basics what are the basics in the acceptance sampling? So here it is an ideal way of doing this. So acceptance sampling, where it's an ideal process for the mass production. Seems to inspect each and every items, but it is presented for the acceptance. The 100% inspection should be taken under the following circumstances. It means that only for these three things, will be taken that one. So the occurrence of defect may cause less of life or serious casualty. So is see here, if there is there is something, the defect, if it occurs, so the this defect, if it is less of life, means if the defect is formed, if there is a defect in the product, so life of the product will be, it will reduce. So then second one, the defect may cause serious malfunctions of the equipment. Sometimes these defects in the product will causes the malfunctions in the equipment itself. So that is also we need to consider. So if testing is destructive, like cracks, bulbs, and shells, etc., we cannot go for, we are not supposed to think about the 100% inspection. I can say that. So we have to go for the acceptance sampling. So that is about the basics of the acceptance sampling here. So the guidelines for the sampling procedure are given below. So what are the guidelines? See here, it should give a definite assurance against a passing unsatisfactory lot. See here, so deciding, rejecting the lot, accepting the lot is not important here. Say if you reject the lot, so sometimes the lot may have the good quality products sometimes. So it is we have to take care before rejecting any lot we have to think about that. So that's what we have to give the assurance against passing the unsatisfactory lot. So unsatisfactory lot means what? It is the lot that it has been rejected. So before rejecting a lot, I have given an example for you. Say 100 items is giving in a mass production, a machine is giving 100 items. Once again, I'm telling you. So per hour. So out of the 100 items, I have selected 5 items, and say all the 5 items are bad. So then the consumer 100% is going to reject the lot, because 5 items has been selected for the inspection. They are bad. Who knows? The remaining 95 items may be good. The lot has been rejected. The lot has been rejected, but that lot is having 95 items. They are good. 95 items are good. So it has been rejected. So that's what, before rejecting the unsatisfactory lot, or before rejecting any lot, so the inspector should give the assurance. So he should decide, he should think about that. Then only he should, he can go for the rejections of the lot. The inspection expenses should be as below as possible, or I can say that. So in the acceptance sampling, the inspection causes for the inspection, so the cost of the inspection is naturally low, as we know that, because here the cost of inspection is less because there will be less number of the inspectors, quality control inspectors will be employed. So that's why here the cost of the inspections will be less, because we are inspecting here the few items, not, we are not going for the 100% inspection here. So that's why the, these are the guidelines, we need to follow before, going for the acceptance sampling. So the next one is the types of the acceptance sampling. So the type of the there are so many types of the acceptance samplings are there. So one is called as the single sampling plan. And the second one is the double sampling plan. Then third one is called as multiple sampling plan. Fourth one is called as sequential sampling plan. And fifth one is called as skip lot planning, skip lot sampling plan. And sixth one is continuous sampling plan. Then next one is called as chain sampling. Next one is called as tightened sampling plan, normal slash tightened sampling plan. And next one is called time truncated acceptance sampling plan and reliability sampling plan. See, here there are there are so many types of the sampling plans that can be used in the industry. So here we are going to study as the subject point of view is concerned. We are going to study the single sampling plan and the double sampling plan, multiple sampling plan, and the sequential sampling plan as the subject point of view is concerned. So here at the end of the unit 6, so you will be knowing what exactly is a single sampling plan, what exactly is a double sampling plan, multiple sampling plan, and sequential sampling plan. So as the name, I can say that as the name single sampling plan indicates that the there we are going to select only one sample. That's why it is called as single sampling plan. And then this second one is, as I can say that it is the double sampling plan. Here in the name, as the name indicates that it is a double sampling plan, means that there will be two samples will be taken. First we are going to select the first sample, and depending upon the acceptance number, and there are so many criterias, and with that criterias, then we will be going to select the second sampling. That is called as the uh, double sampling plan. So the third one is called as a multiple. So name itself indicates that, so there will be more than the two samples will be taken in the multiple sampling plan. Then sequential sampling plan. So these are the plans that we are going to study in this chapter. So that's what here. Now I have completed the session 1. Here I have completed the session 1 for the unit 6. So let us have light a glance over this here. So till today, what we have learned. So I have told you something about, I have given some introductions to the acceptance sampling. So this, I'm just telling you the summary, the major field of the SQC, and it's like inspection method where we are deciding the batch whether we have to accept the batch or we have to reject the batch. So that acceptance and rejections are depends upon the that is called as probability of the acceptance. So sometimes it will happen, so it will happen so that uh, the batch that has been selected, it may we are going to reject the batch, but the batch will be having good items, and sometimes the batch will be accepted, which will be having the bad items. So sometimes such things will happen here in case of the acceptance sampling. And then we have studied so applications we are using it in the destructive test, where there is a lot of fatigue in the 100% inspection. We are using the acceptance sampling. Where there is a high cost, we are using the acceptance sampling. And we have studied some seven advantages of the acceptance sampling. So all those things I have told you, the items are subjected to the destructive test. That's why we are using this. That will be the advantages of acceptance sampling. Cost and time is less, fatigue is less. That's why we are using the acceptance sampling. And smaller inspection staff is required because it is a mass production. In the mass production, we are using, the wherever we are using the acceptance sampling, the staff required is less, and less damage to the products will be there in case of the acceptance sampling. The problem of inspector errors can be reduced here as it is there in case of the 100% inspection. It exerts more effective pressures on the quality improvement. So limitation is the risk of making the wrong decision, provides less information about the product as it is there in case of the 100% inspection. Some extra planning is required and the documentation is required in case of the acceptance sampling. That is the disadvantages of that. And for a successful to get a success in the acceptance sampling, the few points that we need to remember, that is the randomness of the sample size, quality characteristics to be tested, acceptance criteria or the acceptance number, and the lot size. Then we studied that where exactly we are using in the industry, where exactly we are using the acceptance sampling. So to determine the quality, acceptability of the incoming raw materials, components, and the products, we are using the acceptance sampling to decide the acceptability of the semi-finished product also, and to determine the quality of the outgoing products. And it is also used for improving, maintaining, and controlling the process. So during the manufacturing process itself, we can bring the process under control. And then we have studied some basics in the acceptance sampling, and then some guidelines. So in the guidelines, as I've told you, that the unsatisfactory lot, the lot that has been rejected, we need to give the assurance for that. Sometimes what will happen, the lot will maybe rejected, but it may have the good, good items. So it's a loss for the customers. So before rejecting any lot, so we have to give the assurance for that, and the inspection expenses should be as less as possible. And so we have studied at the end, that is the types of the acceptance sampling. As I've told you, that single, double, multiple, and sequential, they are important subject point of view is concerned. Whereas the remaining skip, lot, continuous, change sampling, tightened, normal, time truncated, and reliability sampling, they are actually used in the industry. So here I have completed the session 1. So thank you.